Coming to you from sunny California and the Great White North. Get ready. We are breaking down the obstacles on the Armchair Ninja Podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Armchair Ninja Podcast. It is Friday, May 5th, 2017. My name is Rich, and joining me once again this week is Bijan. How you making out?
I'm good, man, but damn, the course continues.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, G-Force. What did I do?
What are we doing to these poor teams, man? You know what I need to do? This is what I need to do, Rich. I need to, next year, we need to have a team made up of Horse Abs Guy, Rob Moravsky, and that really, really annoying Pikachu lady from Sasuke. Them on a team, and that way I can just pick them for all three picks and curse them. That's what needs to happen, bro.
That might work. Oh my god, I couldn't believe it. Like, how did this happen? No, 2 years in a row. G-Force is all primed to win this thing. I don't understand how this happens.
I'll tell you exactly how it happens. Amazing come from behind victories. And once again, this show is so amazing because the names that aren't fully out there really come to shine. And I think it's pretty obvious who the big MVP of this episode is, right? I mean, Matt Wilder, next level, dude. And I didn't know the stat that he has never lost in one-on-one competition on Team Ninja Warrior. I mean, this guy is really making a name for himself.
Yeah, absolutely. That was absolutely fantastic performance by Matt. So in this episode, just to be clear, we are going to be covering Team Ninja Warrior season, I'm going to call it season 3. I don't agree with the whole season 2 episode, whatever the heck it's supposed to be. We're at season 3, episode 3. And we're also going to be covering Ultimate Beastmaster. We're going to be wrapping up our coverage of that. We're going to be doing episode 9 and 10, the big finale. And
I'm in love.
As much as I love Team Ninja Warrior, I'm telling you, Ultimate Beastmaster, what a great finish to that whole thing.
Yeah, for everybody that's been waiting for this recap of Ultimate Beastmaster, I hope you guys are ready because I am about to lose my stuff. Oh, was it so good?
All right, so I don't know. What's the lead here? Normally we jump right into the big story first. I'm torn. I think we'll go Beastmaster first.
You want to do Beastmaster, huh?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it, man.
All right, so Beastmaster. We'll start with episode 9. So we had one slot remaining. So we had 8 of the Beastmasters chosen. We only had 1 left to go. I'm thinking the Brian Reddard guy must have been one of your favorites, right? Spartan, Tough Mudder. I'm like, oh, he's hitting all the keywords.
Dude, as soon as I saw him, I'm like, yes. But not just him. Both USA contestants were, dope in previous Spartans. You know, Ken, this guy was absolutely amazing. Ken, whatever his name was.
Corigliano, yeah.
Yeah, that guy, yeah. Dude was amazing. And, Brian, just for everybody at home for recap, I mean, this Brian Reddard dude, multi-time Spartan race, competitor, also Tough Mudder competitor. I mean, the way this guy trains was absolutely absurd. I mean, when you saw this guy's training montage, grabbing logs, doing crazy box jumps, and all this other crazy stuff. I mean, these guys came to play, and what an amazing 1-2 punch of Team America.
Yeah, I thought for sure it was going to be the two of them in the final. The way they played them both up, I thought, oh, this is it. These guys are both going to be in the finale. We're going to have a square off within the country.
I didn't think so, because for everybody at home, man, there are 2 competitors, but especially one. This guy named Nam Vo from Team Germany.
Yeah. I
mean, this guy was a specimen. He had me questioning things about my own sexuality today. I don't know, man. My girlfriend better hold on to me for her dear life, because woo! I think I'm in love, bro. I think I'm in love between 2 people, and it was really tough for me to watch that final showdown go down, because my heart was split between the 2 men. That sounded very wrong now I think about it. But, yeah, wow. 2 amazing competitors. We had 3 stars come out of this episode. Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I was a little torn. I was like, Nam Vo is too big to make it to this finale.
Too sexy.
And he is a good-looking man. I almost called the wife in to see him. I still might bring her in to take a look.
It's absurd. People, it is just not fair to people like me and you, bro. It is not fair that people like him exist.
Yeah, if there's, if it's a scale of 1 to 10, this dude's a 12. That's crazy. He's an engineering student on top of that. Like, really, dude, you got to step it up on both levels. Like, come on, that's just not even fair.
Yeah, just not fair. Like, give us something. Give us something, man. But the guy's awesome. Like, when you hear his story and the fact that he came from humble means, he used to get teased for being too skinny and everything. I mean, you can't, even though he hits all the hallmarks of like, oh, it's a hot dude and super in shape and like doing well physically and everything. I mean, this guy's got a really compelling story and very humble. I mean, you can't not root for this guy.
Yeah, he seemed really nice. He was very personable. I had no issues with him whatsoever. I was rooting for him the whole time. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, he is like anti-horse abs.
Yes.
That's how you do that, like that shtick correctly.
Absolutely. Those competitors stuck out for sure. Is there anybody else that was really on your radar?
I mean, I'm sure there were, but there were only 3 people in my mind this entire episode. I'll say this. It came down to a fantastic final showdown between 2 competitors. We're on episode 9. And their personalities stand out so incredibly much to me. This show does one thing very, very well, and that is getting the personalities right. And I have to say, Ken, this guy was so incredibly fantastic. He was he's the competitor that, like, American Ninja Warrior would love to have, right? This guy was just so fun, just knew exactly, like, how to, like, entertain for the cameras, and just everything about him was just incredible, like incredibly charismatic. So Ken was a really, really fun dude. And then you had Nam Vo, which was kind of more like the soft-spoken, humble, really hot dude. Them two in the final showdown, and just the fact that neither of them were rock climbers, so they both had to adjust incredibly well to this really tough like finger grip part, and the way they approached it by taking off their shoes and their socks and using their toes in the footholds. I mean, that was an absolutely amazing sense of, I guess, adjustment and adapting to the obstacles in front of them. I really, really found that compelling.
Yeah, it was really cool. I was loving every minute of that. Jumping way to the end here. But anyway, Ken was keeping his shoes in his mouth just in case he needed them later, it seemed like. Like, it was really cool to watch them really putting it all on the line. One thing you say about Ken, he was phenomenal. He was very personable. He was very engaging through the whole thing. He was doing the whole USA chant, and I realized what it is about when Terry and Carissa do that. Is that it doesn't feel as genuine. It feels like it's kind of forced, like they're just like cheering them on. And it's not a judgment on them. It's just, it doesn't feel as natural. With him, I felt it more. I felt like he was legitimately just so enthused and so supportive of his country. He's just like cheering it out in such an earnest way that you couldn't help be drawn in. I really liked that guy a lot.
Yeah, perfectly said. It was very authentic.
Yeah, the whole episode 9, actually, as great as episode 10 was, I thoroughly enjoyed episode 9. I was really, really drawn into the whole thing. They really saved a good one for the end.
Oh, yeah. And, any episode with Nam Vo with his shirt off, I mean, is a win in my book.
All right. Unfortunately, that did mean that Japan got knocked out without any Beastmasters making it to the final episode. That sucked for them, but they did stick around. We learned with episode 10 that they did stick around and do their commentary. I guess they kind of had to, but it must have been a little tough.
Yeah, I mean, the writing was on the wall. The Japanese competitors, especially in episode 9, I mean, they were not up to snuff with the others.
Not really.
And, it seems like Japan, in terms of the casting, was there more for showmanship. We had a lot more comedians and out there competitors that were there to be personalities rather than just like, hey, I'm a world-class rock climber, blah, 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 And that's fine. I feel like they only had about 3 really, like, good competitors that were really going to give the rest of the competition a really tough one. And obviously, I mean, we had a previous Sasuke champion on it with Yuji Rishihara. So I feel like everything was in his basket in terms of the hopes of Team Japan. But once he fell out of the competition, I mean, Team Japan brought the personalities, and that's perfectly fine because we got power, and that dude's awesome. I forget his name, though.
Yeah, the guy in this episode was, they called him a muscle man entertainer. He's a YouTube star, basically. So, yeah, they didn't go for they didn't seem to, anyway, at least from the perspective we had, to go for the top level athlete. That was more about the personalities. And hopefully if they get invited back, they'll kind of step it up in maybe more athletic pursuits. Obstacle course racing,
I do not expect
preferably.
Team Japan in season 3. Is it season 2? Maybe season 3. Maybe they'll come back, but I don't
throwing them a
expect
bone,
them next
but yeah, I don't think they're coming back either. It doesn't look good for them for sure. One thing that did kind of bug me though about this episode is, I don't know if I'm just noticing the pattern or what, but it seemed to be broadcast in both this episode and the next as like where someone's getting way ahead. Like in this episode, Taeyoon Kim was way ahead, did really fantastic in level 1 and 2, and they played it up too much for level 3. You're like, oh, this guy's totally gonna fall. Like he is just not. He's not going to get through, because they wouldn't have left him to the end the way they did and make a point of how far he had gone on his previous attempts. So like, stop showing me previews of what he did on his episode, because I know he's going to fall now. And sure enough, didn't he go out right at the beginning?
Yeah, and I kind of feel bad that I completely slept on Taeyoon Kim, because he was first place in both stage 1 and 2. So, I mean, the dude came to play, and yeah, the writing was on the wall, but honestly, I found that perfectly fine. It wasn't really a big deal to me. I guess you noticed more of the editing. I didn't notice it. So if you do see that in the editing, I'm sure it stands out.
I did enjoy watching Terry and the others going to console the South Korean commentators. That was
awesome.
That was pretty good. But that moved us into episode 10. So I don't have much more else to say about episode 9. Did you?
Nope, let's fly through it, man, because this is the episode that really stood out to me. I mean, this, just as it should have, was an ultimate culmination of everything about the show. And the competition was so high that every single portion of the course really, really mattered. I mean, those point whatever they call them, like, what are those things called, man? Those little
point thrusters.
Point thrusters, yeah. The point thrusters were so important. The fact that they modified just slightly every single obstacle on the course, it didn't even matter that they didn't switch anything up. I mean, the small but very important switch-ups really had an impact to everything, and I found the whole competition really compelling.
Yeah, I was shocked at the level, man. Oh my God. Like, when you stop to think about it, I realized after this third person went through and was just dominating the course, and they're hitting all the point thrusters and they're doing crazy well, I thought, well, I mean, these are the winners. Like, this is really the best of the best. So I guess we should be expecting it, but it was really cool to watch so many top level athletes tackling that course, especially with the changes that they made.
Mm-hmm. And with that said, I mean, going into this episode, I wish we had a preview episode, because I would have said full on, and I wrote this down just because I didn't want to, well, it doesn't matter because anybody can see it, but going into this episode, I said it's really between two competitors that is going to win the entire thing. And that was Felipe Caramago and Roberto Perez. I really felt like they were the two front runners going into this. And then the two wild cards, in my opinion, was Air Force Ken, who we just talked about, because everything about him seemed very comfortable, but I felt like he wouldn't do very well in the very final portion with the rock climbing wall. And the other one was Hyung Park, who we saw in the very first episode, the ice climber. I felt like if he can get to the fourth stage, he can do really well. So those were my two wild cards, but I really, really felt pretty strongly about Roberto Perez and Felipe Caramago. And yeah, it was really fun just to see all these competitors battling against each other going into this. Now, who really stood out to you going into this? Like, who were you expecting to do well, and were you surprised at all?
I wasn't surprised at all. I really wish I had made the predictions. That was my only disappointment with the episode. I was like, why didn't I say it on the last episode? Because, yeah, I mean, it seemed like a no-brainer that Hyung Park and Felipe would be facing off in the finale, because they both did so amazingly well.
Interesting. You didn't think Roberto would do well? Roberto Perez?
It's not that I didn't think anybody else would do well. There was lots of them that I really was looking forward to. And I forget the guy's name, actually. One of the German competitors that went out early that we had really thought a lot of. But in the end, I couldn't see anyone else that breezed through in the way that these two guys did. The way that Felipe just... I mean, Hyung did great, but I feel like Felipe he just makes it all look easy. Even when he wasn't in first place, he never looked like he struggled at all.
Yeah, I mean, in many ways, he reminds me a lot of Jeff Britton. Like, his accomplishments are very much understated until, like, he goes on to the course, and then you really see what this guy is capable of. And he makes it look very easy, and he going into this finale, he's the only competitor that reached the very top. Yeah, I felt like as soon as he gets to the fourth stage, he was a shoo-in to win it, but that was really compelling in itself, but we'll get to that. I mean, this whole competition, though, because the points like switch over from stage to stage, everything was just so much more important. And because the level of competition was so high, I mean, you had to get through all of stage one just to even have a chance. And that was so amazing, dude.
Yeah.
So I was really, really high up on this. I felt like this was a brilliant culmination of everything that we've seen before.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like, unlike the previous episodes where it's like, okay, so they have to get this far into the course to make it like, dude, you got to finish the whole thing and hit the point thrusters to have any hope of getting through this whole competition. They really, really set a high bar right from the beginning and kept it up the whole way through. And that's with the additional difficulty levels that, where they narrowed the beams and they moved the chain rope 2 feet out from where it was before. And then they put a point thruster on the mag wall. It's like, oh my God, what did they do to this course? Like, just little seemingly minor changes, but it was hard to begin with. And now they're trying to do it at this increased level. It was great. I loved it.
Yeah. So what'd you think about stage 2? Or level 2, I should say.
I liked it. I liked that the stomach churn was 15% faster. I thought that was a good change. I think it's a little anticlimactic. I guess you don't see it quite as easily. But it definitely seemed to screw them up for sure. They're getting tripped up. They're struggling with the digestive tract, but we did get to see a few people hit those chains. Level 2 seems to be the hardest. Is level 2 the only one that we didn't see? Did anybody finish level 2? I think we had one.
There was only one. Yeah, it definitely seems the hardest, and honestly, I'm fine with that because, you want a stage that feels almost impossible, especially in a competition where it's about the points rather than just if you fail the course, you're done, So I'm perfectly fine with that, and I honestly wouldn't mind seeing even level 3 get way harder. I feel like the more it's impossible for these competitors, the more you have a chance to separate the field, so to speak. So I actually loved it in its difficulty. Now, going into this, I was really curious if anybody was going to get all the way. And I gotta admit, I was pretty surprised that it was the bodybuilder dude from South Korea that got the furthest out of this, out of all the competitors. I have to admit, I wrote him off, and I kind of felt bad for that looking back. But man, I did not see that coming.
Yeah, there were some really good performances. This is actually where we had the only big injury of the season that knocked someone out of the competition. Air Force Ken unfortunately injured his quad when jumping to the treadmills.
Yeah, that looked brutal, dude.
That sucked. Yeah,
I mean, I've banged my knee before and things like that, and just the force that he hit that particular point. I mean, I have a feeling he really messed up his knee. That was brutal. I feel for the guy because just gutting that far and being that close. Like getting an injury like that, which completely takes you out of the competition. I mean, even if you have all the heart in the world, I mean, you're basically screwed at that point. I don't even think anybody would let him. That's brutal. But once again, I really find Air Force Ken compelling because he was in such good spirits, even being taken away. I mean, good on that guy. He was really a fun character this entire season.
Yeah, he was, and I felt bad. Especially because he actually qualified for the next level. He actually went far enough to qualify to move on, but unfortunately, because of the injury, he couldn't. And it was worth noting that they didn't take the next person, right? They actually just reduced the number of people moving on. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought for sure Roberto Perez would have a chance again, and they didn't. And I don't know how I feel about that because I kind of feel like they could have given Roberto a chance to at least qualify. And I feel like Roberto would have been... I'm really curious to see how well he would have done. I mean, even if he were to complete the entire course in Stage 3, I don't think he'd have a chance in getting enough points to get that far, if I remember correctly, because the two competitors basically completed the entire thing. But it'd still be fun to see him, because if you guys remember, he was kind of like the Drew Drechsel, where he... Or maybe... Joe Moravsky. I think Joe Moravsky would be a better comparison. Where this guy was just so technical with his approach to the entire course, and it was really fun to see him. So I wanted to see his approach more, especially with Stage 3. But that's fine. It's whatever. We had an amazing showdown when it came to Stage 3. So I'm cool with it because the 3 finalists, right? For Stage 3, we have Felipe, we have Hee-Young Park, and we had Jonathan Collins. And boy, did they and Jonathan Collins, he's the only competitor that we haven't, I guess, brushed everybody up on. And this was the triathlete that honestly, he shocked me the most by how well he did this episode. I kind of wrote him off going into this. And he came to play. So good on him. And yeah, this was fun.
Yeah, he was entertaining. He was really good on the course. But do you know who really stepped up this episode? I have to give a quick shout out. Is Carissa Thompson. She was way more entertaining. She was so dynamic this episode. I was really loving her. Like, where was she the whole... Like, she was fine through most of the season, but I
episode 9
really
she was
liked
good
her
too.
this one.
Yeah, the last episode, like episode 9 and 10, she really came out to play. I don't know what happened, but yeah, that's a good point, man. She... In terms of like getting the legs out from underneath her, and she's like more comfort and just embracing the role. This was when she did it, and good for her. I actually felt both her and Tara Cruz very engaging this episode, and honestly, all of the hosts, other than maybe Team Japan because we didn't really see them a whole lot,
right?
The hosts were just so fun. This last episode in particular, where it was a more festive vibe. They were just razzing each other. It was Team Germany that was out, and then they came to support Team Brazil going on. They're like, oh, Felipe's our guy now. And I found that really, really fun that all the hosts really made it their own and just had a fun, like, sportsmanship vibe, and I found it amazing. So, I mean, anything else you want to say till we get to this barn burner of a Stage 4, man? The ending?
I just want to, like, I don't think we can stress enough that the hosts made this show in some ways, because Brazil, I think, may have been my favorite host. I love South Korea, and the U.S. did great, but I'm telling you, Brazil at times really stole the show. Just when they came over to harass those Germans, I loved that part.
It was amazing, and they were so good. But Team South Korea will forever have a place in my heart. They were the absolute best. I love them so much. And one thing before we go, man, what'd you think about Hee-Young Park? Just so everybody that knows, in CH3 there's a portion where on the I guess additional part of Stage 3 where you can risk going to like extra obstacles and you can gain 40 points, but if you fail on them, you lose 40 points. This dude, Hee-Young Park, he places himself in the final. He's already got enough points, and then he goes for the optional third obstacle. So he can fail this obstacle and actually fail his way out of the entire competition and not go to Stage 4. But yet, he wants to show off and does the entire thing. Wow. That dude's got some balls, dude. Like,
dumb. I can't stress enough how dumb that was.
It was dumb, but man, like at that point, he must have known that he had it because he was a champion ice climber, so he probably has grip strength like a truck. But yeah, I mean, it made for good TV, but I would have never ever done that.
I thought he was going to fall for sure, but. It was the most inspiring, stupid thing I've ever seen. I appreciate the fact that he wanted to finish it, but that he never should have done it for two reasons. One, because he was risking not moving on to the final. If he had fallen, he would have actually knocked himself out of it. Mm-hmm. But more importantly, and the most applicable one, since he didn't fall, is he used up energy that he could have used for the next stage.
Not just energy, but grip strength energy, right?
Yes.
Which is everything. And he was the last to go as well. So, yeah, I feel you there. That was the one thing I was really worried about. But, every once in a while, you just got to show off, bro.
I hope it was worth it. Hee-Young, I thought you were fantastic. I loved every minute of it, except that dumb thing you did.
I honestly don't think it mattered.
You don't think?
Like,
really?
looking back, I don't think it mattered. But going into that, like, I would have never... I would strongly suggest he never tries that again. But I don't think it mattered too much in the final competition.
Well, okay, so we're moving on. Level 4, we have the mountain climber versus the ice climber in the final.
Both champions, by the way.
Both champions, both.
Yeah,
well, Felipe's like
world class.
Almost by, well, I mean, Felipe obviously showed his skills, but at the same time, he is like the only one. He's the only professional rock climber in Brazil.
He's the only one that's made it to the top of stage 4.
Yes.
Remember that, guys?
Yes, totally. The finale was, you couldn't ask for more. Like, it was almost had to have been scripted, you figure, because it was so perfect.
I honestly really liked how this happened.
They were like tied the whole way up this thing. And I thought it was just a race to who could get to the top first until I heard them, I think it was Terry Crews mention, like, we may have a tiebreaker. And I thought, oh, I didn't even think that was possible. I thought whoever got to the top first just won.
I am so glad they had a tiebreaker.
Yeah.
Could you imagine how cheap it would have been if a guy was just like 1 foot above the other and then it's like, oh, he's the winner? I would have found that the worst ending ever.
Really?
So big ups. Yeah, I would have been furious. If somebody had more points than the other, good on them. But if it's like how they had it the rest of the season for the full ending of the entire show and a guy's just a little bit higher than the other, I would have been furious, dude. That is not the way to end a competition like this.
I don't know. It's not so bad. Because I kept thinking, is someone going to jump for it? And we saw them actually trying. Like, Felipe was like trying to jump for that last button because all they had to do was hit one more button than the other guy to progress. And they just couldn't quite do it. Just seeing them put it all on the line like that was really, really cool.
It was really inspiring. And I got to say, the person that stood out to me mostly was Hyung Park. Because going into this, we already know Felipe could do the entire stage 4. And Hyun Park, we saw him try before and he hasn't gone as far, right? But he has amazing accolades. But going into this, like, everything about this stage skews towards Felipe a little bit more. And the fact that Hyun Park stayed with Felipe, not only in terms of speed and like everything about it, I mean, Hyun Park really, really stood out to me as super amazing. And I was honestly rooting for both of them. And I was so absolutely ecstatic, dude, when it came down to the fact that they had a tiebreaker. That means we got to see them again, and the slate was clean again. I found that really invigorating. And in many ways, it made it a moral victory for both competitors, that in a way, both of them won. And now we're just seeing who gets the money, right? That they both, I guess, showed each other that they're both champions. I don't know. Does this remind you of, like, Jeff Britton and Isaac Caldiero in some prospects? Like, if it would have been the correct way that A&W should have done it? I kind of feel like it's that, man. A
little bit, I guess, now that you say it. I can see why you would say that, yeah. I liked the race at the end. Maybe it would have been a little disappointing if we hadn't had that. But the tiebreaker race was really cool. It was basically, for those that haven't seen it, the final obstacles are split into basically 4 sections, and it was a race to the top of the 3rd section, which is basically where they both had made it to be tied to begin with. So they had to redo what they had just done as fast as they possibly can, not hitting the point thrusters this time, which really made a huge difference in how fast they were able to do it.
Dude, they were flying up that wall, and it was cool to see. And I'm really glad that we got the 2 best climbers on, or perhaps the 2 best climbers on the show in the finale with this, because it would have been really tough if we had somebody like Air Force Ken versus Felipe or Hyung Park, because then it would have been a destruction, right? Whether you complain about it or not, Stage 4 is completely geared towards a rock climber. And if you're not a world-class rock climber, you are not going to beat that. So I'm glad that we had 2 such high-level competitors that evened each other out, competing against this. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better finale, and that was fun.
Yeah, because that would have been a really bad finale, especially for the first season. When you think about how many times did we have the finale with people just basically stuck on the second portion trying to struggle through those cracks.
Yeah, like Air Force Ken, dude.
Yeah, it would have been easy for any of them to be stuck there. But these guys are just good both at climbing and the rest of the course, so that they were able to make it to the final 2.
Yeah. I mean, overall, I know there might be some people that don't like the show as much because I for whatever reasons, right? I really, really enjoyed this show. and I was expecting me to be a fan of it, but maybe get tired of it later on. I have to say, this entire time, I really love this show. I'm so ecstatic that they're having a stage 2. I'm so ecstatic that they're going to have a season 2, man. And I really think Ultimate Beastmaster can be a very big component in the Netflix library going on for many, many seasons. I am so happy that we have something like this where it's not even American Ninja Warrior Light or anything. It's just a nice component that's like adjacent to Ninja Warrior, where it's a competition similar to it, but it's very different in many aspects and equally as entertaining. And the more shows like this, the better, dude. Really, really high up on this. Everything about it I loved. And I'm really curious to see what changes they have for us in season 2, but I loved it.
Yeah, I liked it too. It was really fun to cover. I didn't have I had 2 weeks where I kind of got out of it, but I'll take that on me. I think that was mainly me. The whole season was fun to watch. And the only weird thing about it to me is how it's put out, right? We get it all in one big shot, and we tried to cover it week by week, and it's really hard. I don't know how we avoided the spoilers, or at least I didn't know who was going to win until the end, but it was...
Me neither.
It was nerve-wracking. I kept thinking we were going to get it spoiled on us.
Yeah, I avoided spoilers like the plague, and it was hard, but I'm happy. It made covering the show very, very fun.
Yeah, so I don't know if we'll have to revisit how we covered the next season. I'm sure we will. Unless you let us know. Like I haven't gotten a whole lot of feedback. We get tons of Ninja Warrior feedback when Team Ninja Warrior starts up. People have lots of opinions on how it's going, how this, that, and the other thing. Hasn't been a whole lot of response from Beastmaster. So if you are enjoying Ultimate Beastmaster coverage, let us know. If you hate it and wish we don't do it again, I don't know if we'll be able to accommodate you, but we'll keep it in mind at least. So please let us know. How did you enjoy this season? Did you think it was a good series, and did you enjoy our coverage? Yes or no? It would be really. I'd really appreciate to hear what you thought.
Yeah. All feedback's always welcome. Thanks, guys. With that said, we got an awesome episode of Team Ninja Warrior, man. Let's get into it.
Yes. Oh my God. I guess we did. Team Ninja Warrior, I couldn't believe the teams we had stacked up here. We had G-Force, Average JoJo's, Think Tank, and Superhero Squad. That is Jessie Graff's team, JoJo Bynum's, Noah Kaufman, and Jamie Rahn. So 3 of the 4 captains in this episode have actually been on our podcast. How cool is that?
It's dope, man. Now, I gotta say, right off the bat, the 2 teams that made it to the final relay, I have to say, and I feel terrible saying this because looking back, I'm like, I should have known. Those were the 2 teams that I thought would be kicked out going into the relay. I actually found the 2 teams that were kicked out before the relay were the 2 teams that would make it to the relay. And this whole episode was very shocking to me.
It was kind of a disjointed mess, and it almost kind of backs up some of the complaints about the formatting of the show, right? The point system. I don't know. I'm a little torn. It's fair. I just don't know. It's a little frustrating sometimes how the captains can do so much.
I mean, yeah, but with the team that won, it wasn't the team captain that won it for their team. But I understand what you're saying.
That's a good
competitor. I know what you mean, though.
Yeah.
He basically was because he did a lot of the 2-point runs.
One person can do it. Yeah,
I feel, as you said, a lot can be dependent on one competitor. But when it comes to the final relay, I have to say that it's all on the entire team. The entire team has to do well. So I can't complain fully into terms of who makes it to the finals. But yeah, for making it to the final relay, there is some questionable things. But as I said in the previous episodes, the fact that there's such high competition this season, it kind of evens out that complaint of mine. And more particular, it was just really shocking. Some competitors that you expect to do really well, they did well, but compared to some kind of competitors that you don't know their names as much, boy, did they shine this episode. And that's one thing I love about Team Ninja Warrior is where you can really get some incredible come from behind victories and some really big shocking moments. And this episode was really filled with them. it definitely made for some compelling TV in the fact that I honestly, like halfway through, I was like, you know what? I have no idea what's gonna happen. I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, it was up was down, left was right. This whole episode was full of confusing moments. So we take a look at the first matchup. Let's see who the teams are. We've got G-Force versus Average JoJo's. That is Jessie Graff's team with Nicholas Coolridge and Jesse LaFleur stepping in for the role of Travis Brewer from last season.
Jesse LaFleur is awesome, so...
Yes,
I like Brewer and Jesse LaFleur, but Jesse LaFleur is a really good competitor for this type of competition. One thing, though, he's wearing jeans. What are you doing, bro?
Gotta be comfortable.
That's all I gotta say. I guess so, but...
Some genie pants would have went a long way, maybe. The Average JoJo's, we had JoJo Bynum and Kirsti Pratt filling in for last season. I believe it was Caitlin Shuckwit. And Jimmy Bogle Jr. was back, who was fantastic last season. Kind of struggled a bit this episode, unfortunately.
Yeah, but it was so exciting seeing Kirsti Pratt. I mean, first of all, there is nothing average about Kirsti Pratt. She is super high level. And first of all, I hate that name, Average JoJo's. What a terrible name. But
kind of.
I must say their logo is pretty dope. It kind of reminds you of the Avengers. That was pretty dope. But yeah, what a fantastic addition to the team in Kirsti Pratt. And she really came to play. I mean, she was really impressive this episode. Another one of the MVPs to me. And JoJo Bynum, once again, I mean, he is really underrated when it comes to this competition, I feel, where his name's out there, people know him, but when he comes to, like, on Team Ninja Warrior, I mean, this guy is very fast and good. So... Good on this team. I was excited to see them.
Yeah, Jimmy's really good. Again, I'm looking at his results this episode though. He kind of
not very well.
Didn't go well for him.
Yeah, we all have off days. I can't say he's bad or anything. He just
had,
tough
you
competition. It was just a bad day,
You hesitate for a split second. We see later in the episode, and that's all it takes.
Yeah.
I do kind of want to go through run by run a little bit here. We can kind of skip over the first one. Jesse versus Jimmy to start the whole thing off. Jimmy ended up falling on the ring of fire. Jesse was flying through. It was like, okay, so Jesse LaFleur knew he would be good.
It's like a dart, it's like, yeah, we all know.
Wasn't that surprising. But we got to talk about the next run.
Yeah, I was so dope. I was so psyched, man. I was so psyched.
I almost recorded myself watching this one because I was just bouncing in my seat, just like, oh my God, it's Jesse versus Kirsti. I've never wanted to see any run more in in both seasons.
Y'all know, everybody listening at home, y'all know for a fact you were psyched on this matchup. I mean, this is what Team Ninja Warrior is about.
Yeah, and then Kirsti takes the lead right off the bat. I was losing my mind. Jesse does the early dismount, but she got her feet wet, and like they're hitting the warped wall, and I'm like, they both missed the wall. And I didn't know what was going on anymore. I couldn't handle the whole thing. And Kirsti ends up winning in the end. It was freaking fantastic.
Yeah, it was amazing. The instant Jessie Graff hit the water, though, I was like, that is going to come to play later if they make it to the warped wall. One thing, like Kirsti Pratt, she really reminds me in various aspects of a really young Jessie Graff. If you remember Jessie Graff in the first seasons, she's this really physically impressive competitor that is technical and has a lot of promise, but it's still like figuring everything out, right? But you can see she's dedicated, especially to like her body and figuring out all these obstacles. And Kirsti Pratt, she's really young. I think she's like in her early 20s, and you can tell by her training and her build and everything like that. I mean, I feel like in 2 years is going to be perhaps one of the top female ninjas in the entire sport, or maybe the top one. I cannot tell you guys enough. Do not sleep on Kirsti Pratt. This woman is going to just absolutely amazed. Like, not alone, she could probably win the entire thing this season, like in American Ninja Warrior, right? But I feel like give her like maybe 2 more years, because we've seen with the growth of Drew Drechsel, Jessie Graff, Megan Martin, and a lot of these competitors, they really get their final wind 4 years in to the sport with training. And I really feel like when we see her in 2 years, she is going to be next level. Super, super high up on Kirsti Pratt.
Yeah, I think we go on about her enough. I think people know that we're huge fans. I don't know. I don't think she needs any more years. She could break out at any moment. I think she just needs to string together a good night, and we'll see her. It wouldn't surprise me. If she had beat stage 1, I wouldn't have been any more surprised than I was when Jessie did it. It totally would have made sense to me either way.
Completely agree, man. She's definitely one to look out for, and I mean look out for like going all the way. She is no joke.
So that brought it down to Nicholas Coolridge versus Jimmy.
You mean Jojo Bynum?
Jojo Bynum. Why do I have Jimmy written down? So Nicholas versus Jimmy. Nicholas versus Jojo. I didn't. This was the most confusing run I think I've ever seen on this show. Nicholas falls in, but kind of recovered. I don't know if I wasn't rooting for G-Force, I would call that a fail. I don't know about that recovery.
It was really interesting because we've seen competitors fall before in a similar fashion as Nicholas Coolridge and the buzzer hits, but I don't know what the ruling is about it, if maybe the hands have to go into the water as well. I'm guessing that's what has to happen. I will say this, it made for compelling television in the fact that it's not over until it's over, right? But yeah, the rules were a little muddled in this one.
Yeah, then he kind of messed up on the swing jump, and then it looked completely hopeless at that point. But then Jojo ended up falling on the bar hop, so they're just waiting around for Nicholas to complete the bar hop to see if they won, and he did.
Yeah, I mean, Nicholas, for everybody, like, we kind of skipped over, but he fell, like, completely in the swing and into the water. The only part that wasn't was his upper, like, his arms, but, like, his torso and legs were in the water. And in most cases, they usually hear a buzzer and the person's out. But I don't know if that sound with the buzzer is, like a filled in after the fact audio effect, and maybe they just do that for the at-home audience. I don't know what happened at that moment, where most competitors usually in that situation as Nicholas Coolridge are probably just like, yep, I'm done. You know, Nicholas was like, nope, I am still going to find a way. And it made for good television, but, you know, the rules are a little iffy in that, but I have to imagine it was okay as long as you keep trying.
Yeah, I feel like it would have been more controversial if they had ended up winning in the end, but since they didn't, I guess it didn't matter quite as much, not to spoil too much. Maybe his feet didn't touch the bottom of the pool, maybe that was the difference. I don't know. It was really strange.
Good on both teams, actually, now I think about it. It was a lot closer of a matchup than I expected, and, you know, we had, it was quite fun. And the next matchup really stood out to me a whole lot.
Yeah, so let's talk about Think Tank versus Superhero Squad. We had Noah Kaufman, Aisha Grechka, and Matt Wilder versus Jamie Rahn, Rachel Goldstein, and Sean Darling Hammond. So 2 very strong teams, as we saw last season, and we've seen some of these competitors on the local competitions, like Rachel, and of course she did well last season as well. But I think this is a first. Noah walks out to run the first leg of the race. Like, what the heck? Did you do a double take at that point?
A little, until they reminded us on who Matt Wilder was. And then it really made sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, once we saw him run, we knew why. I mean, Think Tank, obviously they're going to be using the strategy, and they realize their fastest guy makes most sense in the anchor run, so it doesn't matter if he's a captain or not. It made a lot of sense to put him there.
Yeah, in many cases, you know, the captain's the person with the namesake. And Noah Kaufman definitely has a name over Matt Wilder. But Matt Wilder is, at this point, the better competitor for Team Ninja Warrior, the faster competitor. I mean, yeah, this made all the perfect sense in the world. Don't sleep on everybody on Aisha, I think that's her name, Gretschka. I mean, This girl last season and this season, really impressive. I mean, this girl is maybe being slept on by the people with her paired with her, but she is like overall. This team is really good and kind of low key, which I kind of respect in many aspects.
Yeah, we noted how great she was last season. This season, she did struggle a bit with the Ring of Fire, and I think that kind of toned down how impressive she is. But yeah, she is no joke. She is really, really strong. Honestly, I kind of appreciate seeing Paris again. I haven't seen it in a few years now.
Lordy. Moving on. So, yeah, so the other thing was the superhero squad. First of all, awesome with all three of them having capes. Sean Hammond looks exactly like me if I shaved my beard off. And this dude really came to play. I mean, I kind of feel bad because this guy I was completely sleeping on. I was like, I feel like I've seen him, but I don't really know this dude. And he really stood out. I mean, he's kind of one of those competitors like Travis Rosen last season, where Travis Rosen was up against some really high-level competition and did amazing in losing, and Sean Darling Hammond was very similar in this case with this episode. Even though he lost a few matchups, he was so impressive keeping up with everybody.
Yeah, I didn't underestimate Sean, maybe a little bit. I kind of expect him to be like an average, solid competitor, and I think that's pretty much what he delivered. Him running against Noah was interesting because Noah got to the wall first, but he ended up missing it, and then Sean was able to make it. So he did actually beat out the team captain. So I mean, you can't ask for more than that.
Very true.
But then we had Aisha versus Rachel, which I was really looking forward to. I thought that would be a great matchup. Aisha really struggled on the Ring of Fire. Rachel almost fell on the floating tiles, and then Aisha did right behind her. So the floating tiles played a pretty big part in this one, I felt like.
Yeah, and I'm cool with that, you know? What actually, now to think about it, what do you think, before we just move on, of the obstacle that they switched up this episode? I forget its name, but you know what I'm talking about with the little...
Yeah, the bar hop. Yeah, we didn't mention the fact that they switched that out. I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. I like obstacles like that, where it gives both things that you really want to see. It gives a slowdown, a really good technical obstacle that they have to take their time on, unless they are incredible and they can skip the second half of it. I love having that option where the highest level competitors can really make up a huge gap if they have to.
Yeah, I completely agree. It was really good. It had a lot of different avenues. I was slightly disappointed by the fact that the second half was so obvious. Like, why would you take the second bar hop when you can just swing to the platform? But it made for some really good TV, and the fact that there's different components to it made it like perfectly fine to me. Because there were some people that took the second bar hop, which I found not very smart. But you know, it's whatever.
It's a pretty big gap, though. I think they said it was 15 feet. Or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you have to have a really tough, big lache for it. I mean, they definitely make it look easy. But, yeah, I like the fact that there were the different options with that obstacle. So, okay, just curious about how your thoughts on that one.
So that brought us back to Matt. The one-man wrecking crew, we had Matt versus Jamie Rahn. Speaking of, Matt pulled ahead and skipped the second bar hop and ended up winning the race because of it, pushing it to sudden death.
That was amazing.
That was amazing. There was I can't even begin to mention all the amazing races in this particular episode. Matt versus Sean right after that. So after winning that, he had done his race. He had to do it again, and this time he had to go against Sean, and he wins it again. He has not lost in both seasons of this series. It's crazy.
This is somebody to watch out for. With that said, I have to say he's really, or at least in this episode, really like carrying his team. I hope, and I don't mean any disrespect to the rest of his team, but at least in this episode, he was really carrying his team on his backs. And I hope in the finals, his team, I guess, comes out to play and really shows their side with support, you know? But so far, this Matt Wilder guy is amazing. And, I mean, Jamie Rahn, that dude is super fast. I was thoroughly surprised on how good he was this episode as well. That dude was flying.
Yeah, I don't know what his time was in this particular run, but we saw him really step it up in the next matchup because they had lost. Superhero Squad had to face G-Force, the winners from the first round. And Jamie Rahn just was amazing. Just amazing in this particular section.
Mm-hmm.
So we get to see Sean versus Jessie first. This is Sean's third race in about 15 minutes.
That's what I would like. This poor guy has been so tired. He held his own, but geez, they were asking a lot of this guy.
He did amazing, really. When you watch back, he is, for having just worn himself out, he really did really, really well. Jessie did end up winning in the end, but incredible effort from Sean. I really appreciated the job he did there.
Yeah, completely agree.
So then we had Rachel versus Jessie, another great showdown to see. Rachel ended up hitting the water on the Sonic Swing and really got thrown off to the point that she ended up flying off the course on the Ring of Fire. I don't know what I was expecting on this race, but it certainly wasn't to see Rachel just disappear off the side of the course.
Yeah, it was a little anticlimactic. I mean, I really don't have much to say. It just happened, so...
Yeah, thankfully she didn't get hurt. She did land fine. She just...
That wasn't... Yeah, that's actually a good point, because she could have really hurt herself now that I think about it.
Yeah. I thought she did at first, and then they said, oh no, she's fine. She just kind of got sideways when she was swinging off. So yeah, it was a little anticlimactic in a way, but it definitely... this matchup wasn't anticlimactic, because then we had Jamie Rahn versus Nicholas Coolridge, which is two of my favorite ninjas running against each other, which was always fun to watch.
So psyched. Like, these two guys are fast, and they are so good. I was so ecstatic to see these two compete against each other.
One of the best races we've seen. Oh my God. 37 seconds to finish the whole thing. They both ended up long dismounting on the bar hop, and Jamie won it by a second. Like, it was so close. And both of them just putting it all on the line. Like, you can't ask any more of either one of them. They just did everything they could do to get there as fast as they could.
Yeah, it was an absolute fantastic neck-and-neck race. And they were they were next, like, parallel to each other the entire freaking race, dude. It was amazing. And... yeah, just once again, both of these competitors raising the bar. You know, iron sharpens iron, and in competitions like this, it really stands out where I feel like both their profiles really, really raise. And one thing I also have to say, they actually let Nicholas Coolridge talk this episode.
Yes.
Did you see that, dude?
I did.
History
I did note that.
has been made, everybody. Nicholas Coolridge is not a mute. He is not a ghost. He actually exists to the American Ninja Warrior producers. He actually spoke. I don't even know what he said because I was so shocked.
He was noting how he trained on the beach and stuff, and how running in the sand is so much harder, and he's trying to get his cardio. I was just floored, like, oh my God, Nicholas, like, that's what he looks like. Oh yeah, that's right.
I couldn't believe it. I had to, like, check my pulse. I'm like, am I in another, like, afterlife? What's going on here? Nicholas Coolridge is actually getting airtime. How is this happening? It was fantastic. Hopefully this is a very good sign, you know, for the future. Maybe whoever had a vendetta against this guy, it just doesn't have it anymore, has moved on to, I don't know, horse abs dude or something. But, yeah, very nice to see Nicholas Coolridge getting some airtime. Very nice.
So then it went to sudden death, and we get to see Jamie Rahn versus Jessie LaFleur, because they swapped out Nicholas, which I think made a lot of sense, because Jessie was more fresh.
Very smart.
Yeah, very, very top-level parkour athlete. It seemed like the way to go. Did you think he had a chance versus Jamie?
Oh, yeah. I felt both of them had a really good shot. I mean, obviously, Jamie Rahn just came from a run, so he might be a little bit more winded than Jessie LaFleur, right? But both, like, Jamie Rahn was so fast this entire competition, so I felt like it could have been anybody's shot, and I was excited to see them because they are both of them are known for their speed.
Yeah, I was a little worried about the more upper body ninja-like obstacles, like the bar hop maybe. I wasn't sure, you know, who would have the edge. But Jamie Rahn went to ludicrous speed. I don't understand where he got the extra amount. Like, he slowed down at the end. I don't know if you noticed, like, he kind of breezed through the end, kind of took his time going to the buzzer, and still got a better time than he did the first time. He went at a ridiculous pace this race.
Guy came to win, man. He's slowing it down, and big ups to Jamie Rahn because he started American Ninja Warrior as kind of just like a fun character with all the other like dressed up ninjas and everything. And we have seen his evolution these past years, and now he is like one of the top people in the entire sport. And he's been somebody that I've really enjoyed seeing over the past few years just evolve. Good on him. And man, if there's ever like something to show in terms of how talented he is, it's this episode. Whew.
Yeah, I just watched my number one pick, my favorite competitors get knocked out by my other favorite competitor. It's kind of a sour note.
I know that feel, bro.
Yeah. So that meant we moved on to the average JoJo's versus Think Tank. And right off the bat, we get to see Noah versus Jimmy. Jimmy started falling behind and unfortunately fell on the floating steps. And I'm going to push through a little bit since we're running a little bit longer here. Aisha versus Kirsti. Kirsti pulled ahead this time. Aisha started making up ground. They both got on the bar hop, but Kirsti ended up winning yet again. Hit the buzzer twice in this episode. And finally we had...
I'm ready for the relay, so keep it moving, man.
Yeah, let's just get to the relay. And then we had Matt versus JoJo, who was ahead. JoJo was running ahead, but he hesitated at the floating tiles. And when we say hesitated, I mean like took a second. Like he really didn't hesitate that much. But Matt just brushed past him and won the match. Just blew through the rest of the course. I felt so bad for JoJo. Like you can't even pause for a second. Give the guy a second.
It's tough, man, but them's breaks. I don't know.
Yeah, we learned the Team Ninja Warrior, you cannot take a breath when Matt Wilder's on the course with you.
Yeah.
So Matt just absolutely dominated again, undefeated. Moving on to the finale, to the big, I almost called it the Showcase Showdown. It's not The Price is Right. The
relay?
Yeah, what are they called? The Relay Showdown or something. They had some name for it. What was this stupid thing called?
Relay Showdown.
Is it the Relay Showdown?
Mm-hmm.
Terrible name. Okay, so we had Think Tank versus Superhero Squad. And they lined up with Rachel versus Aisha to start it off, Sean versus Noah in the middle, and Jamie versus Matt pulling down the final leg, which all made a lot of sense. There was really no...
Yeah, it was exciting. Like, I'm like, ooh, this is very, like, close. Like, there's not... Other than maybe, not even, I can't even say Jamie Rahn versus Matt is like, I mean, all competitors were like very evenly matched, right? So yeah. I was excited.
Yeah, there wasn't much to say. I was like, well, this could go either way pretty easily. And Rachel versus Aisha was really close. Aisha did have a bit of a lead at the tag. And then the weirdest moment in Team Ninja Warrior history, possibly, we had both Noah and Sean fall on the bar hop, and I had no idea what was going to happen at that point.
That was really surprising. I mean, both those competitors obviously can do that obstacle with ease, and in this competition, I mean, they didn't even have to do the first half of the course. So, I mean, sometimes these competitors are so focused on getting past an obstacle too quickly that they make big lapses in judgment, but man, that was pretty surprising right there. Those are two competitors where you don't expect that to happen.
Absolutely. They're both very strong, very good on the course, and to see that happen was odd. And then I was like, well, now what? What do we do? So we learned that if that happens, what they do is a 5-second countdown to the next competitors on the course, and then they both go at the same time. So Jamie versus Matt on the back third of the course were starting at the exact same moment, so that led to a very exciting finale. Matt did pull ahead in the Globe Grasper, as I don't know what Jamie Rahn could do, right? I mean, Matt's like a climber, very, very strong. I feel like Jamie put everything into it he possibly could have, but just Matt was a little bit better in that portion, and then he just flew up the invisible ladder. Like, I really don't know that you can critique Jamie at all. Like, what the heck do you do? Like, Matt was just nuts.
No. Jamie was amazing this entire episode, and when you're up against Matt, and not only are you up against somebody like Matt Wilder, but you're in his wheelhouse where their portion of the course is all upper body grip strength, right? I mean, you're asking a whole lot. I mean, this guy trains with the Wolf Pack and everything. Honestly, he should be a member of the Wolf Pack. He should just, that one little iffy spot with Isaac Caldiero, he should just swoop right in and take that. And that is Matt Wilder, and I would be more than happy with that. So, yeah, this guy is, next level. Big ups to Jamie Rahn for sticking with him. It could have been something else, Maybe if it was more agility based, maybe it'd be more in Jamie Rahn's wheelhouse. But that's the whole point of the competition. You have to adjust with what obstacles are in front of you. And unfortunately, this back half is very grip strength heavy, which is just everything that skews towards Matt Wilder.
Yeah, and even with that, Jamie did really, really well. There was nothing you could say. He went through the Globegrassers really fast. He would have beat a lot of people in that back portion, just not Matt, unfortunately. So, good job all around.
Yeah, and once again, by the way, you could just see the heart with Jamie Rahn, where he was fighting and struggling to get up that invisible ladder in that second portion. Even though he was behind, he was giving it his all, and that was really cool to see. I really like competitors just give it their all, and boy, was he doing it.
So we had 3 amazing episodes. This was one of the most fun weeks to watch all of these things. And if you'd like to reach out to us, you can reach me at rich@ninjapodcast.com. I am at Ninja Podcast on both Twitter and Instagram. And Bijan, how can they reach you?
Yeah, guys, hit me up at Twitter and Instagram at Bijan151. That is Bijan 151. And I'm looking forward to shorter episodes next week, guys. We just have one show to cover for now.
Woohoo! All right, thank you all for listening, and I hope you have a fantastic week.
Peace and love, y'all.